So, Lucas, I had the privilege of hanging out with you in the studio a couple times and seeing you hard at work.
Yeah.
And I love that. So, you put in a lot of work. If y'all have not been out to see the studio, you definitely need to get out and see the studio.
Thank you.
It's over off of 33rd and Cornhusker Highway. What's the actual physical address?
3235 North 33rd Street.
Okay.
It's about 4 blocks north of 33rd and Cornhusker.
Okay. Beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful facility. Also, I had to give mad love out to Sad Son because y'all put us over the top for our pledge drive on the Kick It session and the show. You guys donated above and beyond, so I appreciate y'all for that and your support.
Not a problem.
And Melly Mel, I know you tuned in right now. She's like, yes, give him love, give him love. But you have a new project coming out, a new CD, and when do you have a release date on that yet?
Yeah, it's kind of tentative. We're thinking August, the month of August. I mean, as far as my part on the album, it's pretty much done. Everything's pretty much written, and just a lot of fine tuning. You know, we've been at it for a couple years almost, and so at this point, there's no reason to rush anything,
right? Because
it's sounding pretty cool.
It is sounding pretty cool. And they've had a sample of one song up here.
Okay.
And that was with George Clinton.
Yeah.
And that was nice. I played it quite a few times, and I'd be getting down. I'd be rocking out.
We did too. I was starstruck. I mean, having the greatest band of all time with the greatest frontman of all time. I mean, to me, George Clinton is, he's my John Lennon,
Right.
And that's the only time in my life I ever remember being starstruck. I mean, sitting in there trying to come up with a funky bass line, and it was just awesome. It was a great
experience.
It
right, though. You got it right.
You did get it right, because it goes hard.
Yeah.
Definitely goes hard. It's a fun song. It's a much-needed listen-to song.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love about your music, though. Like the songs that I've heard, your lyrical thesis, it's just not music. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There is a message there. And it's good music.
Well, I appreciate that.
And that's so important because, when we asked Trilogy earlier, who's whack? Lucas Kellison ain't whack.
Well, they may think so, but I mean, that's their opinion if they want that one opinion.
I wouldn't think so.
Everyone's got their own.
They do.
I mean, having content in your music is personally something that's important to me,
Mm-hmm.
and it's obviously not important to everybody, but I'm not everybody, so.
Exactly. And I appreciate that from you. I love not being everybody because I'm definitely not everybody.
Yeah, well, I would hope that I spend as much time, on lyrics as I do on melodies and chord progressions and whatever else. And, I hope everybody else does too. I mean, that's where a lot of my love for hip hop comes from, is that I'm so inspired by so many lyricists,
Right.
And even though that's not what I do per se, it definitely influences the way that I write. So whenever I hear lyrical content that I appreciate in somebody else's music, that's always important.
So give me drop a couple names who influenced you that way.
Honestly, my biggest influence really is George Clinton and Pfunk. I mean, that was growing up as I came up as a bass player, and when you take it seriously, you only end up going to a handful of so many bass players,
right.
And one of them will ultimately end up being Bootsy Collins, and so that opened me up to James and George and every other group in between that they had back then, and so yeah, I'd say George Clinton, basically just that the people that are themselves. I think like self-actualized artists, people that play what there's in your heart when you listen to the music, that's what they're supposed to be doing. Prince is one of those people.
Oh yeah.
Obviously Michael Jackson,
right?
Was
Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, Stevie
Wonder. Yeah.
I'd even put people like Tom Petty.
Yeah,
like when I hear a Tom Petty song, I'm like, man, that song was written by and for Tom Petty.
Yes, it was. And I'm a Tom Petty fan.
Oh yeah.
I mean, lyrically, oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. And John Lennon. Lennon. He's another great one.
I mean, I can read. I can handle listening to Bob Dylan sing for a while, but I can read his lyrics for years.
Right. I can attest to that. Definitely.
And trying to think, there's some, Aretha is one of those people to me that, played and sang. And that's always really important to me, to find people that are instrumentally focused and,
right.
can sing and do it all basically.
So let's talk about your project real quick.
Yeah.
Let's give some information. Let's talk about what the foundation of it is, the content, and let's go from there, and the inspiration.
The album's title is called The Young Rebels Art, and it's just sort of a an overall description of my background story.
Okay.
Which is, basically just sort of always been a story of being against the grain and thinking more outside the box, and that's sort of a lot of what motivates me personally. Then the actual sound of it, I think, is probably, a lot of people are describing it kind of like electro rock. I mean, when I listen to it, I'm like, that's a funk record,
Right.
But as far as modern music goes,
right,
it'll probably be classified as pop.
Right.
That's kind of a stretch.
It is a stretch. It really is, because listen to TJ right here. Yeah, he rocking out.
Yeah. Well, and that's sort of something that it's like, there are so many influences, and I hear so much greatness in so many different kinds of art, especially in music. So I said I'm influenced by hip hop, but vocally I listen to R&B singers. Mm-hmm. Instrumentally, I listen to rock players. Like there's obviously a lot of influences, but it just had to come out. So it's trying to become one of those artists. Mm-hmm. one of those artists that have self-actualized and play what they're supposed to play. So I don't really want to give it a genre. I quoted somebody else. I have no idea what it's called. I mean,
I would call it the Lucas Kellison.
I think that's probably the best description.
Because it is to me, because I couldn't put you in a genre. I really couldn't, because you have such a diversity throughout your music. So I couldn't really, I could not put you in a genre.
Yeah. And that's sort of my biggest blessing and my biggest curse. Because I don't have a specific fan base to appeal to, but I think that a lot of if people are open, that they're going to be more in tune to dig what I'm doing, So it really, I would rather be outside of the box, because the people that are in the box, that box gets smaller and smaller and smaller every year,
We have a saying, and I have a saying, and we also have a saying when we mentor, that there is no box. There should be no box. But unfortunately, a lot of people put themselves in a box, but really there should be no box.
No.
And that expression. So tonight we're going to feature a brand new song. Can you see my smile? I'm so excited. I'm super excited, because I had the privilege of being there when this came together. And it was such a beautiful thing, and I was taking pictures all over, and just really soaking it all in, and really enjoying seeing you as an artist, have your thoughts, and like, oh, I could add this and I can add that. And then Dead Prez was in the studio, y'all. We had Stickman and M1, and then to see them doing their lyrical side. You had Stickman was over there with his little pen and paper, and then you had M1 on his phone.
So I never seen anybody write a verse on their phone.
I know,
before.
M1 was going crazy. He was like, yeah, and then he started typing, and Stickman over there with pen and paper. It was super
And before
cool.
that, we had a lot of people together on that track to help produce and help create that foundation. So when they came to the studio, the groundwork was already done.
All they had to do was lay 16 bars total.
What was really funny about that, and this is always the way it works on at least the stories I've heard about other albums that I really enjoy, is that there's always a track on there that the artist himself didn't think was going to be the one.
Right.
But actually, I had my tracks all picked out, and TJ, either you could call me or send me a text or something. Shot me an email. Actually, you don't ever email me. We work together. It's like
I did some drums, and
sent me the drums, and he had some other stuff on there. But I was like, I want those drums. Okay, I'll be in there. So I went in there and snuck into my own studio and did some lab work.
Man,
and it is. It's. I mean, like you said, with all the work done, it was immaculate before they even got on there.
Yeah,
really.
They were perfect. They were the perfect group to talk to, because, lyrically, I've always been a fan of Dead Prez, and they are real as real, and they've just never compromised.
Never.
And I love that about them.
Yes.
And so I knew that they would be open to that concept and the idea of helping conceptualize that track.
Right.
So as soon as I talked to them, I mean, I knew they knew it was. It was money.
It was like, it was money, but it was a magic. It was a marriage right there. Boom, it was a done deal.
And then Bin Laden got caught.
I know, right?
Same
Same day.
Same day.
Bin Laden gone. Kaleidoscope on.